Hello and welcome into the Sporting Pod, along with Mauricio Ruiz and Tony Allegretti and Emerson Burris, a full house. I'm Cole Pepper. Today on the pod, we are up front. What the Front of Kit sponsorship announcement means for the club, takeaways from Wednesday's Media Day, and a look ahead to the start of training camp, and what a fortune suggests for the inaugural season. I'll get to that in a moment. We are fed by The Bearded Pig, locally owned and operated with the original location in San Marco. Make sure you swing by The Bearded Pig for great barbecue and great times. We got it back. The Bearded Pig is back.
We're back. The pig is back.
I knew I was missing something in my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now it's complete. All right, let's.
Yep.
Hey, before we start,
Here's the point of the podcast
Yeah.
where Tony breaks format.
sorry. I just want to say R.I.P. Diogo Jota.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really sad. I'm a blue and never really rated his team, but he was obviously an awesome guy and he's a real supporter. You learn more about people, after some tragedy like this, but he was a real supporter of the women's game, which I think is important. So anyway, R.I.P. Jota.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's talk about yesterday as we record this on a Thursday morning at the Gemstone Media Studios. Yesterday, we had the first media day for the Gainbridge Super League women's team. There were two parts to this, and I want to talk about both of them. First, I want to talk about sort of the second part, which was the announcement that was made of our Front of Kit sponsor. For the uninitiated, probably not many people on this podcast, most people listening to this podcast are initiated, but your two major sponsors are your stadium naming rights sponsor, which we'll look forward to having once the stadium is up, and your Front of Kit sponsor. Now, there are other sponsors who are all important, whether they are, the back of the kit or whether they are the podcast sponsor, thank you, Bearded Pig, or whatever else. But having a Front of Kit sponsor, it is a real statement by a company that says, we believe in what you're doing and we want everybody to know it. So with Ascension St. Vincent's now on the front of the kits, it goes beyond just logo placement on a shirt. There are a lot of other things going on here. But, Tony, this was a sponsor that we knew we wanted to be a part of. And as Mark Warburton said yesterday, sort of morals aligning in so many ways.
Yeah. And it's a really comprehensive sponsorship. This one was negotiated and really contemplated and worked on for a very long time. And
By the way, there was some competition for this as well.
Yeah. Well, and also, when you do front a shirt with a specific category, that really is oftentimes, almost every time, is going to be exclusive, right? So
right.
And you think about all the great healthcare, and hospitals that we have in our area, big category in our area. You've got to make this the right choice, and it's got to be good, and it's got to be comprehensive and mutually valuable to each party. And so it took a long time. We got it across the line. It's great, super exciting for me. I have two kids from St. Vincent's.
My daughter was born in St. Vincent.
Came into the world, yeah. So, they've helped me on my healthcare journey before, and so very good, excellent, U.S. Brand. So not just local. Very, very, very excited for it. There's obviously parts of the deal that really help us in wellness and keeping our players fit and all that, and so just excellent A++ on this one.
Now, to have a Front of Kit sponsor too, obviously timing of this was important because training camp starts on Tuesday, so if you're going to have a media day and have folks out, you want to make that announcement before all the cameras are there or as the cameras first arrive. But to have this done, again, this is a little bit inside baseball, sort of business of the game, but just huge to get a Front of Kit sponsor done here in advance of the inaugural season.
Yeah, and to kind of just pile on what Tony was saying, it's not just a sponsor, but it's a partner. And most of our sponsorships, we really are looking for partners. and specifically on the health and welfare of our athletes and everything else that they can provide eventually the community. So in my role as technical advisor and previous role, more full-time there, every time that we were sitting across the table from a potential sponsor, my questions were always to, okay, how does this benefit our athletes? How does it benefit our coaches? Do we get a chance? Do we get a leg up on a competition? Are we going to be better because of this? Or is it just going to be a transaction, which sometimes it might be, but we have to ask the questions first. And more often, and then 9 out of 10 times, I know that our leadership is always going to lean towards the partnership and the benefits that he brings outside of just the financials, which obviously it's a business, but Ascension ticks all of those boxes for us because we have people at the table that are talking about the wellness of our athletes, the support that they can give the coaching staff, and ultimately, how do we win more games? And with sponsors, we got to ask that question.
Yeah, all right. I love the fact we have a full house today because we have 3 generations here represented. We've got Tony and I in Gen X.
Yeah, I was about to say, that makes us grandfathers, I think.
Yeah, it does, right. Yes. Mao, who is an older millennial, I think, or a mid to older millennial.
Wiser millennial.
Yes, if you go ahead and go by that.
Seasoned millennial.
Yes, and then Emerson, who is Gen Z.
Yes.
So we all have had, based on the exposure we had to sports in our geography and our times, a different exposure to having advertising on the uniform, right? When Tony, you and I were kids, yes, soccer has always had that, but if we're looking at baseball or basketball or football, that wasn't something you really see. NASCAR certainly did. Mauricio, growing up, immersed in the game, probably more common. Emerson, having advertising on a kit, that's been more common of late.
Yeah.
Is there anything about that strikes you as odd or different, or is it just at this point, hey, that's the way things go?
I think it's just how the way things go, and especially growing up, like when I would watch NASCAR with my dad, which I was never a very big fan of, but I would pick my favorite based on the car. And so I think it was the same growing up in soccer. I had more of an appreciation for it, but it's so fun to see all the different brands on the jerseys. So I think it's just the way things are now.
Yeah, we're seeing in the NBA and Major League Baseball. Practice jerseys will have a patch in the NFL. I think the NFL, just because they're always looking for additional revenue, I think we're not that far away from NFL jerseys probably having a little more advertising on them, but we'll see how it all plays out. But I do think it's interesting when you talk about kit sales also for fans, how this might impact. Suddenly, and I don't know how many employees or secondary connections there are to Ascension in our area, but have to be in the tens of thousands between either, somebody who is a patient at a doctor who's housed at an Ascension building or an employee directly, whatever that might be.
Lives that are touched by Ascension.
Yeah, as you were mentioning, your kids were both born at St. Vincent's. Mine was as well. Now, all of a sudden, that's another reason to buy a shirt, right? So, cheap plug, go to sportingjacks.com/shop. And you can order.
I think part of their deal too is on the youth academy jerseys.
Yes, that was
and all that. And I always love the thought of when we're in. And I've been privy to a couple of the sponsorship meetings, and they're talking about you'll be on 10,000 youth jerseys from Pensacola to Palm Coast or whatever, and I'm thinking to myself, man, all that sounds like to me is laundry.
It's actually more like 30,000 because you have the home kit, the away kit, and the training kit.
Is it good to associate your brand with having to do the laundry?
Well, let me just bring out a point on that. That laundry is going to have to be done one way or another, and every time, probably mom, could be dad, pulls that out of the dryer and folds it. What are they looking at?
Yeah,
it's a very powerful advertising message from that standpoint.
I think it's good.
All right, season tickets are on sale for the Super League season, the now Gainbridge Super League officially as of the 1st of July. Season tickets start as low as $10 per game for students. You have options for reserve seats, club seats, premium, and field seating as well. Join the movement by securing your 2025-2026 season tickets today and receive a limited edition inaugural season scarf. You can also choose an installment plan, fewer days to make those installment before the season kicks off, but a little bit of a savings there for you at no interest. So go to sportingjacks.com or call 904-863-KICK.
Before we move on, sorry.
This is the point of the podcast.
Yeah. It seems like I'm going to risk not being invited back. But I remember we started a team an adult team in the year 2000. And there were
the Cyclones.
This is the Cyclones. This actually would later become the Burrito Gallery Cyclones over 30B.
Mm-hmm.
And we started, and a friend of mine and I, both from Gulf Breeze, were trying to play, and they were going to put us on a team. But there were so many people during this season transition that they said, "Hey, if you guys are into it, you guys could all just create one new club, one new team." And so we all got together, and there was dudes from they're still great friends. I mean, lifelong friends now. It's been 25 years since we started that team, all over, Dutch, Brazilian, over the years, I think, the United Nations. Anyway, Graham from the UK was kind of our de facto captain, and he worked for Mercedes at the port. And he went to Mercedes and said, "Hey, we just started this team, really great group of guys from all over the country and all over the world, but mostly first-timers in jacks. And would Mercedes be interested in providing our kits and sponsoring us and buying those?" And Mercedes said, "Sure." And Graham said, "Okay, great. Send me the graphic so I could put it on the front of the shirt." And Mercedes says, "It's okay.
We're good.
Yeah, it's okay.
Happy to help, but
yeah. So similar story.
Different level of sponsorship here, for sure.
Anyway.
All right, the other part of Media Day.
I digress.
Yeah, actually, sort of two parts of it. One was after the Ascension announcement, local media had a chance to talk with Mark Warburton, Stacey Balaam, the head coach, and a couple of players, Parker Roberts and Caroline Murray, to talk about their anticipation for the start of training camp. And great to see that kind of interaction. Interesting questions, some of which were very soccer specific, some of which were women's soccer specific, some of which were more about, hey, how exciting is it for the first thing to get started. Before we all got over there to the Episcopal School night sports campus, which is where practices will be taking place, where the training sessions are, we were at PRI, and Emerson, you were there, as was I. Tony had a chance to be there as well, and all of the internal media was being handled there with different sort of stages. Can you just kind of describe what you saw in this very vast approach to capture our players for different purposes?
Well, first of all, that was my favorite day of work so far. I had so much fun getting to meet the players and getting to know them a little bit outside of soccer as well. I have a long-lost sister on the team. Jamie Gerstenberg and I have already started a wonderful friendship. We have lots in common. So, I mean, it was amazing. There were different stations, a 360 camera, a green screen. We did some social media work. I mean, it was a blast.
So much content to be sorted through, some of which you'll see in part on the video boards at the stadium, at Hodges Stadium when we play, some of which you'll see on social media, in broadcast, whatever. A lot of different things were done there. I did think it was interesting that all of the players who I spoke with, I didn't get a chance to talk to every one of them, but they all seemed to like best the same set, which was sort of a smoky set with some different colored light effects and kind of a club feel to it.
Yeah.
And they all were very excited about that and looking for. They're like, hey, are we gonna? Can we see these when they're done? Like, yeah, we'll let everybody take a look.
It was cool. It did remind me of that goofy video with the LSU coach, where you know what I'm talking about, where he's dancing around. They're just anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that kind of
real awkward.
It was like if I would have jumped in those pictures or something. It's so dumb. Anyway, sorry.
I was dragged in with another front office employee to do the 360 cam.
Yeah.
Just to kind of play with it. And it what's cool about it is green screen all the way around. And you guys have seen these things, 360 cams where it goes around. You might see them at a wedding or different events. So
now they can put that of you in any situation.
Now Anthony and I can be seen everywhere with whatever background.
You should put that on
want.
a billboard.
That might be very distracting for drivers. What the heck is that guy? I will also point out that a man of my age, with hair suitable for a man of my age, perhaps, having a 360 vision is not necessarily ideal.
Right.
If I had a head of hair like Mao's, I wouldn't worry about it so much. But here we are. But my takeaway on this was having all the players together, almost all the players. There's still some who are coming, traveling internationally. Having all those players together and seeing them interact, and some of them meeting that at that moment for the first time. I mean, it is. I wish we could have thought of this ahead of time and just mic'd up a couple of them and just followed them around to see what their experience was like. We could have, would have, should have. But Mauricio, this is the start of team building, really. We learned that there is a group chat that the team has started. Parker Roberts sort of headed that one up. A couple of them, maybe half a dozen or a dozen, had a little kick around the other day. Several of them live near each other in the apartments. So this is the start of establishing a club culture from a team standpoint, and it just goes nowhere to go from but up from here.
Well, we kept talking about what are the things that excite us the most about the new. There's going to be a lot of first times here, and for Coach Bielema and for the technical staff, one of the pillars that they have is team cohesion. How does the team connect together? Right? You mentioned team culture. That's all part of that formula. And how you create team cohesion is actually oftentimes outside of the playing field. And it's in funny, just quirky interactions like that you do analyze. Like, make no mistake about it. Everything you guys experienced yesterday that you're sharing with us and how the players are interacting, their personalities, Coach Bielema is in it, but she's also evaluating it. She's analyzing it. She's looking at how relationships are formed on and off the field, because it matters. It's not just about talent. Everyone's talented at this level, but it's also about chemistry and players that can play for each other and like each other on and off the field. It's a huge difference.
Tony, what other takeaways did you have from the PRI side?
Well, I got to meet a lot of the players for the first time, which was really excellent. And I was struck, honestly, at how, I don't know, kind of with it and focused they were. A lot of it was, with regards, we talked about Jacksonville and things to do. It was Art Walk last night. So, you and I had talked to one of the players about, just things to do in Jacksonville and all that. And so, for me, welcoming new professional people, it's always super cool to me, because Jacksonville is like one of the best things is we're always like, for me, is meeting new people and helping them kind of get acclimated. It's not a super easy city to kind of figure out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of city states. There's the beach, and there's San Marco, and there's Riverside, and we're pretty spread apart.
Yeah, we are a conglomeration of neighborhoods.
Yeah, and so anyway, one of the things that I love the most is bringing these women into town and making sure that they not just win games and play well, but have fun and enjoy life, because you're young, and a lot of them. There's a couple second pro contracts or third, maybe even, but most of these are first time pro contracts, and this is really, if it can be a good experience for them, this can be the beginning of something great.
I loved hearing from Caroline Murray, who is one of those who's had multiple pro contracts. She's been playing internationally in Iceland, or playing overseas in Iceland, and has coming back. It's her realization of a dream she had when she was 10 years old to play professional soccer in America. She's from Connecticut, so she's coming back home, and one of the things she said was, she spent she'd been in town about 3 days, and most of it had been driving to pick up things for the apartment and trying to kind of do that, get settled in. but she said, I really want to find out what Jacksonville's all about so I can be a part of the community. And you love to hear that. Now, that's a veteran. That's a player who has played a lot of games and a woman who has lived more life than maybe the 19, 20, 21-year-olds. But you love that. And that impact, I think that's going to continue on, and that's going to kind of trickle down. To your point about Jamie Gerstenberg, the goalkeeper, we had her on the radio show on Tuesday. She's German by way of the University of Indiana. Mm-hmm. She was the Big Ten goalkeeper of the year a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. And she is so excited about Jacksonville. Like she actually thought before she was just thinking, where am I going to go after college? And she was thinking about Jacksonville as a city to check out. Mm-hmm. And then she got the call from her agent that, hey, this team in Jacksonville is interested. She was like, done. So we talked about Katie Sullivan, who's got a family in Fernandina. By the way, Helena Arrington, who is New Zealander, tells me that her dad listens to the podcast. So hello to the Kiwis.
Wow.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so,
probably our furthest reaching fan if he's in New Zealand.
If he is, and if it's not, I don't know if we're big on Vanuatu or Fiji or something. That's about the only way to get further away. So we might be big on Vanuatu. We don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, a lot of takeaways there.
Do they say mate in New Zealand? Like, thanks for listening, mate.
A little bit. So I have my brother lived in New Zealand for about 9 months, as sort of a gap year down there. Mm. And then I've got a friend here locally, Paul McRae, who is used to run for New Zealand. He was a distance runner. Now is among other things, runs a running club here. He's a New Zealander. A little bit of that, not as much as the Australians, though.
Okay.
Not as much as the Aussies. But I will tell you, every Kiwi I've ever met is so laid back. They're just like nothing rattles them.
Like the surfers at Jack's Beach.
More so.
Wow.
More so. Not, I would say, differently.
Okay.
Again, and I haven't spent...
They surf a lot in New Zealand, too. Maybe it's just surfing.
I'm headed to Australia next March.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah, I'll report back to see how laid back they are.
There we go. All right. I do want to remind you that the Sporting Jacks Report comes to you this weekend, as it does each and every weekend. Again, because the Premier League season is over, where we were just going right into the start of Premier League coverage every week, now we're moved around a little bit. This Saturday, a noon start on NBC 12, so that's sort of our default position. That's where we are this week. You'll have plenty there, including Emerson's Youth Soccer Spotlight, talking about international travel. That's kind of feeds right into this in some regards. And you can also join us every Tuesday at 6 for the Coaches Show on 1010XL. You can listen live and on demand at 1010XL.com. Mark Warburton and Stacey Balaam join me. And as we did last week, we'll be continuing to have some players join us, probably one a week to join us on that show. And also the Sporting Jack Soccer Hour every Thursday night at 6 on AM 930 Fox Sports Radio Jacksonville. Mauricio and Becky Burley join me every week for that, and we get a little bit from Emerson as well on that program.
This is the hardest working broadcast unit in the USL.
We are also...
I'm claiming it. I'm only a tiny piece of it.
100% in terms of the Gainbridge Super League. We're much more aggressive on that front. There are a couple others who are doing some things. Okay. I think Sacramento's very active in the championship.
They have 2 radio shows.
I mean, come on. I don't think
Seriously?
so. I don't think so.
Republic.
Hey, it's a good club to be mentioned with in terms of their accomplishments through the years.
For sure.
I did want to bring this up as well. We have launched the first episode of A Sporting Chance, our documentary following the USLW League team. Spoiler alert, they have qualified for the playoffs and won the division and are beginning playoffs tomorrow. But
Asheville.
In Asheville, against the Lone Star FC from, guess where?
Asheville?
Texas. Huh. Of course. Lone Star State, right?
Sorry.
I thought that was a softball I was lobbing up there. Yeah. So check it out on our YouTube channel, and we'll have 3 or 4 more episodes coming, but we're not going to post one this week because of the holiday. We'll come back to it next week when we'll be talking about the local players from both Jacksonville and those who have played college soccer here in that W League team and how they see the aspirational opportunity here with Sporting Jacks. Finally, maybe not finally, I was last night. We went to get some dinner. My wife, my daughter, and I. My daughter, who is 5, loves sushi.
Mm-hmm.
Emerson,
same.
Emerson and Tony, you both love sushi. Mao, are you a sushi guy?
I love sushi.
Yes. Okay, so we all love sushi. I found that there are
Mao and I would go to this really nice sushi restaurant. It's to go only. It's called Winn-Dixie.
Guys, guess where I went last night?
The old office.
Oku at the beach.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
all right. So we all kind of are in a sushi mood. So
I think we've hit the spectrum of sushi too with Winn-Dixie and Oku.
Yes. Yeah. At the end of the meal, of course, fortune cookies come out, and I want to read to you what my fortune cookie said. Now, keep in mind there are 3 of us at the table. They 3 come out. If you believe in kismet or something, I happen to be the one to grab this, and so this is the fortune, and you can all respond to this in any way you feel. Sports reminds us of the value of hard work and dedication. Apply these principles to your goals.
Awesome.
I mean, how ironic is it that is the one that I picked out?
That's great.
Yeah, that's excellent. And such a good lesson and so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one the other day. It said your dreams will come true in October. So
Cool.
maybe we'll win all of our games in October.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Is that your dream?
Amazing.
Sure.
Undefeated
You
October?
could
Yeah,
dream
absolutely.
bigger than that, Emerson.
Yeah,
No, I have big dreams.
Yeah.
Very big dreams.
Yes.
That's just one of them.
Mao, as a guy who spent a lot of time, a lot of part of his life coaching, applying the principles that makes a great player great, applying those elsewhere in life is, I mean, that's ultimately sports is entertainment, is an activity, but also particularly for pre-adults, wherever you want to classify that age as starting, you can learn so much about how to have success in life through sports.
Well, if a lot of the parents that put their kids into sport realize that the 99.9% of them won't make it past competitive or recreational, and keep your kids in sport for the reasons, as you mentioned, for life lessons, it's one of the best teachers that you can actually put your kids into. The problem is that sports, because it's entertainment and it's visible and it's public and it's enjoyable, it starts getting a warped vision of why you play the game. And if we can keep it at the core, that is, it's to teach those lessons, those valuable lessons, then sport has the impact that we see around the world, and that Sporting Jacks is trying to create into the community. And Tony going into our foundation. The key of sport is to learn those lessons. That's why, in my opinion, it was created. Now, there's a few that will have a platform to advance in sport, but those are the few. Those are the chosen ones, and that's kind of been predetermined, in my opinion. But then for the many, sport can be a great tool for impact, regardless of what level you end up playing, because the tools are not discriminatory. They're applied to everybody.
That's right. And there's data. I mean, that if you played sports for fun or, for competition, you get better grades, you have better relationships, you have a higher chance of success. And so all of us and all of the kids should have access to sports and all those good outcomes.
Which leads us right into Tony's opportunity to once again break format and talk about the clinics this weekend, taking it off for the holiday, and then back to it next weekend, correct?
Yeah, yep. Back to it next weekend. We've had great signups, I think, because of the sort of little media tour that we've done about the clinics. So we're doing very well in the numbers, and it's all free. So sportingjacks.com/foundation. Please sign up. I will just shout out too. We were talking about the women coming into town. We do have a couple that lived here, right? Zara is one of them, and she comes to literally every
awesome
thing. And it's just amazing. So, high level. The kids are improving. Like, we're literally seeing improvement. We've had a couple that have had pathways to clubs now too. So this is a way to improve. If this is what you want, this is a way to improve and make bigger teams and move on. Otherwise, it's also just really great for the families.
I'm going to give you an assignment, Tony.
Yes, please.
Follow, especially out of this section of clinics, which is largely made up of middle school and high school aspirational players, or others, youngers as well. But I want you to follow some of those players and report back to us as the season begins on how some of those young players are doing as they try to earn a spot on their school team.
Confirmed. Will do.
All right. Great. Well, this was fun. We've crested the half-hour mark, so let's call it a day here.
30 minutes, you'll never get back. Thank you for staying this long.
We did get to cover a lot. Next week, we'll be talking about the start of training camp. We will hear how that has gotten underway, and the first matches approach less than a month away now for Hibbs, Hibernian FC, and just a little more than a month away from Wrexham for the 2 preseason home matches. For Mauricio Ruiz, for Tony Allegretti, for Emerson Burris, I'm Cole Pemper. Thanks so much for listening to The Sporting Pod.